Now, this is some positive news from the world of academia. The University of North Carolina, you'll remember that's the school where frat boys came together to protect the American flag from the neo-Marxist, anti-Israeli, anti-American protesters that wanted to tear it down. Well, that university has decided to divert $2.3 million away from its diversity, equity and inclusion program and instead use that money to fund public safety and policing. The change is set to take effect in the university's next budget from July 1. Caro, this is fantastic. Instead of defunding the police, they are defunding DEI and investing that money in increased public safety. This is a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's refunding the police, isn't it, Rita? No, it absolutely is. And we've seen this trend happening in the US where there has been this gradual realization that the whole DEI movement has been a massive farce. And instead of being a positive step towards more diversity and a better treatment for minorities, it's been the opposite in many respects. We've seen Asian students at top Ivy League universities being prejudiced against because they're basically too smart and there were too many of them compared to other races. How is that fair to keep them out of not being admitted because they were ranking too well in the academic results? We've seen university campuses, including at Harvard, where the black president, who it seems had a history of plagiarism and not much more to that, to her name, to get to where she is. She's now been sacked, Claudine Gay. She was saying that calls for genocide on the campuses in those pro-Palestinian rallies were, needed to be taken in context alongside some of her peers as well. This movement has been, it's tawdry, it's corrupt, and it is counterproductive to what its aims were supposedly to do.
Oh, absolutely. The DEI, critical race theory, or that entire dogma is just so dangerous and backward, and the faster we walk away from it, the better. Now let's talk a little Harry and Meghan. Their Archwell Foundation has been declared delinquent by the state of California, meaning it is not in good standing as a charity and not permitted to engage in activities like raising and spending money, pretty much all you would expect a charitable fund to do. It is understood that the Archwell Foundation did not pay the necessary fees correctly and was unaware of the issue until the delinquency notice was issued. Gabby, I mean, what a sorry mess. You'd think the staff they have on hand, Harry and Meghan, would make sure they file whatever paperwork is necessary and pay whatever fees are necessary.
Yeah, can you believe it? If they hadn't made enough money from their Netflix deal where they're constantly rubbishing the royal family, you think that they could afford to pay their bills to keep this going. But, it's a really terrible look for Harry and Meghan. Not that their PR was in a good place to begin with, but it just goes to show where their priorities are. We know that Meghan is right now focusing on launching her new lifestyle brand, and she's getting that up and running and sending gifts to her celebrity friends in California. And it shows that that's where their focus is right now. Their focus isn't on their charity organisation. If otherwise they should be all over this. There shouldn't be a problem if that's something that they really cared about. They've also been criticised recently for their trip to Nigeria and the fact that the Nigerian government has been paying for their security during that trip, and that Harry and Meghan have been pretending that it was a bit of a royal tour, although they don't want to be royal. So to see this news today, it comes as no surprise because chaos just surrounds Harry and Meghan.
Caro, it does. I'm really surprised, though, that they would be so sloppy with something so important, because they invested so much into that Archwell Foundation. This is, yes, they've got all the Netflix deals and all the books and all the things they do that generate money and publicity for them, but this was something they were doing to give back to the community, and to stuff that up, it's a big misstep.
It is, but I'm not surprised given their track record now. I mean, it came out recently that their deal with Spotify was essentially torn up because they weren't producing the amount of content that they had promised to give the platform, and essentially they were lazy when they did do it. So it doesn't surprise me. I'm sure the royal family is yet again thrilled that they're well rid of these two, because if they cannot even fulfill their duties for charity, I mean, that is pretty low. And look, their excuse is that they thought, well, the Archwell Foundation's excuse is that they thought that they had filed the correct paperwork on time and they weren't aware that this had happened, that a check that they had sent hadn't been received. But it's just, those excuses just seem to be wearing a little bit thin now, and it's just sad. They've named the foundation after their son Archie. It all stinks, really, Rita.